Welcome. My name is Scott Manasco, and you are watching the American Non-Duality series. And for this video, I'd like to just briefly touch on the idea of conditioned and unconditioned fulfillment, and just make some distinctions between how I'm using these terms. So, conditioned fulfillment is a sense of fulfillment that arises, as you might guess, from causes and conditions. It's like I feel like I want something, and when I get that thing, I feel fulfilled. And in many ways, this type of fulfillment is natural and can keep us going in our lives, like when we have to eat. When we eat, that is a type of conditioned fulfillment. It can keep us relatively fulfilled. But the thing about conditioned fulfillment is that inevitably, we will discover that we will need more conditions to be fulfilled. It's impossible to be satiated from conditioned fulfillment. More than a short period of time, really. So, and the reason for that is that some other condition or some other desire or need, conditioned need, will arise inevitably as long as we're embodied. And I want to say also that I'm not judging this. I don't think that this is something that shouldn't be happening, that we shouldn't have a need for these conditioned types of fulfillment. On the contrary, I think that they have for sure a purpose in our lives. Yet, the distinction is, if we are solely relying on conditioned fulfillment for what I'm called being fulfilled, if we've mixed fulfillment up, conditioned and what I'm going to call unconditioned fulfillment, which I'll explain in a second, if we mix the two up, we're always going to be dissatisfied because conditions always change. And this is, something that's central to Buddhist teaching, the teaching of impermanence, the reality of change. That when we try to hold on to something that feels good, the fulfilling feeling that we get when we get what we want, something will change and then we'll be missing it, or it will move. The feeling will gone. So this only becomes a problem when we expect that such conditioned fulfillment can actually meet our deeper, what I'm going to call our deeper, although that might not be the right way to put it, but our deeper need for unconditioned fulfillment. When they get mixed, that can create that same type of loss feeling. So unconditioned fulfillment, then, what is that? Unconditioned fulfillment is a state of fulfillment, in contrast to conditioned fulfillment, where there actually no conditions are required to feel a sense of fulfillment. And let me go ahead and just describe fulfillment a little more. I just assumed that you understood what I meant in the context of conditioned fulfillment. But unconditioned fulfillment, in this way, fulfillment is a state where we don't need anything. We don't need anything. We don't need anything to be different than whatever it is right now. We don't, it's not, this type of fulfillment isn't based on achievement. Achieving, it's not an ends, which requires a means. It's not based on that system. It's not based on cause and effect. It's outside of cause and effect. It's acausal. Unconditioned fulfillment is acausal. It's not dependent on conditions. And really, this is what we're looking for. Because every other fulfillment is fragile. Unconditioned fulfillment is indestructible. Because it's not affected by what comes and goes. It's just simply not based on those realities. It's completely outside of that. And so, yes, unconditioned fulfillment is really, I'm using it synonymously with non-dual awareness or non-conceptual awareness. It is, we can say that it's a state wherein we don't need anything to be different than what yeah, it's a state where we can't even, it wouldn't even be possible to say that we would need anything to be different. Like, it's not even possible to say what could or couldn't be. I mean, that doesn't even make sense. There's not that comparing, there's not an ability to compare and contrast this or that. Yeah, and in this state, because there's no, in some ways, because there's no ability to contrast this or that, we can say that we don't need anything. And that is a fulfillment that's not based on conditions. Thank you.